Hey guys, it's Jen here and welcome to Jen's World About Art. So today I am going to have a bit of fun drawing a couple of elephants. I did a picture of these guys yesterday as well, but just slightly different one. But I thought I'm up early, I might as well do some drawing again today. So I'm just going to do an elephant and her calf. I did some drawing yesterday and I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed drawing these guys. I want to try and draw them a little bit different. Still an elephant and calf, but just change their positions slightly from the drawing I did yesterday. I'll do these guys in watercolour as well. Just get their outline shapes in first. Because they're a bit cute, these elephants. Definitely a bit cute. So do the trunk in. And this is a female elephant, but they do have tusks as well sometimes. So I'll just get her basic shape in. And this one's an African, I think. She's got big ears. Big ears, big ears. So I'll pop her big ears in. All right. So I'm just drawing in her outline. I'm using a reference from, or about 3 references from Unsplash. So I've got a few photos that I'm working from because I liked different elements of each. I like the light in one, the shapes of the elephant's movement in the other. And then the third one, I like the calf. The calf was extremely cute, so I thought, yeah, that'll be great. Work with that one. So I'll do the mum elephant in first. Pop her back foot in. Oh, I've got that back leg about the right length. Yeah, she's about the length of the other one. Then pop that leg in there. Like that. And her eyes about halfway down her ear. So her eyes about there. Like that. The whole time I'm drawing, I'm taking notice of where different elements of her are, elements of my elephant. And she does have a tusk that comes out the front. So I'll pop that in like that. Right, and the other one in that side. And now I'm going to draw the little bub in, and what I'm going to do is, where's my eraser? I'm going to overlap, there's my eraser, I'm going to overlap mum's back leg a little bit. So the baby will be here, comes up to about there. So I'm going to do that. And her little trunk goes up, straight up, because she's sort of trotting along. So pop a little trunk like that. Oops. And then I do a little eye in like that. Actually, her eye's lower. I can change that anyway. So our little ears stretched out. So I'll pop her little ears stretched out like that. And then I'm going to do, she's sort of running with Mum, so little front legs stretched out like that. So I'll pop that little leg in. That one's like that. Do around the outside of that leg. Then do a little belly. And do a little tail. Sort of flicked up. Elephants are such gorgeous animals. Do a little leg sticking out the back like that. Such little cuties. And that one comes forward underneath. Right. So it's the basic shape of these guys. Basic shape. And I'm working on Arches watercolour paper. Rightio. So I'm going to actually flick through a couple of different references because I liked a couple of different elephant colours. So I can get a few details off different ones. Okay, awesome. Righto. So let's get started with the watercolour. So I'm going to mix up a grey and I'm going to use a bit of cobalt, a little bit of cobalt blue and a little bit of burnt umber to make up the first layer of grey for this elephant. Just a very damp wash of grey and fill in both elephants. Just take it down her front of her face like that. And I'm just going to literally wash it right over the pair of them, leaving their tusks, because her tusks, they're white. So I'll leave her tusks. And just run that down her nose. Like that. And just, it doesn't matter that I've got a little bit of a hard line on her back. I can go in later and add more layers anyway. Just got to keep my brush damp, keep the water moving. That's all. Got to keep the brush damp. Keep the water moving like that. Take it down her foot. Then do that offside leg. So this is just the base colour, guys. Oops. Take that down there. Then I can go over that baby's trunk actually because she is running next to her mum and her trunk is in shadow, so her trunk, just leave her eye. So I'll take that over the baby's face like that because they do overlap a little bit. Like that. And then continue on with the baby. And just fill her all in. So this is, like I said before, a burnt umber cobalt blue mix to make this grey. Just got to turn off my thing on my screen. That thing. And keep going. And this is hot press paper. I like hot press paper. I like the smoothness. I'm not a fan of textured paper. When I'm doing my animals, I want to be in absolute control of the texture. So there we go. So that's them filled in. I'll do the ground in now just to get a base for them to stand on, and I'll do it in a sandy colour because they're walking along on a sandy colour, just a very pale sandy colour. I'll take it up past a little bit like that and just run that completely over, just a wash, very, very pale wash because I can build up as I go anyway. And take that right around like that. All right, so now I'll build another layer of that because that's a bit pale, and just directly under them, and I'll let it sort of flow into itself like that. That's good. I like it when that happens. It'll give a more natural sort of a groundy feel. All right. So take that down to the bottom like that. And then I'm going to make a shadow colour for directly under them. I'm going to use a little bit of idanthone and a little bit of red, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until I've mixed up my colour, but I'm going to wait until that's a bit dry. So I'll go back to working on the shading on the elephants now. So let's start with Mum Elephant, and I'm going to make that same grey, burnt umber, ultramarine blue, just a little bit, cobalt blue, just a little bit thicker, and start popping that into her shadow areas. So she's shadowed under here. And I can move this around. Once I've got it on the paper, I can move it around with a damp brush a little bit. And she's shadowed under her eye, like that. Take that down her trunk. And her mouth sort of comes down below her tusk, just a little bit there. And then the bottom of her trunk is in shade. So I take that down, bottom of her trunk, and I damp my brush because I don't want this harsh line down here. And I spread that out with a damp brush like that, so it's not as harsh a line. And she's got like quite a dark shadow on the top of her head. So I'll pop that in there. Then start on her ear. So watercolours I find really quick for doing elephants and things like that because they're pretty much a monotone. There's not a whole lot of colour. There's a few browns in there which I'll add later, but they're pretty much a monotony sort of colour. They're just, they're just different tones of the same colour, which is interesting. And it makes them fun because to me that's monotone. It's a great way of playing and learning with your tonal values. So I'll take that down that leg. So this is again just the second layer. And I'm just flicking between reference photos because I liked the shadows and shapes in a couple of different pictures. And she's got very crunkly legs. So I'll just pop a few little liney bits in. And that leg's almost completely in shadow, so I'll fill that right in. Like that. might make that a bit darker. So again, cobalt blue, ultramarine, mix her up, slightly a bit thicker. You can tell it's a bluey grey colour. It's a very cool grey, but that's fine because her shadows are cool. And I can add a bit of a warmer colour over the top later. Once I've got the base tonal values in, then I'll go back and add some warmth over the top. And by warm, I mean something with a little bit of red in it, a little bit of brown in it, something like that, just to help me. And that'll give it a bit of life. So I'm just popping the shadows on that leg now. I'm just darkening that opposite side leg up a little bit. I can refine the details a bit in a mini. And pop that shadow into this leg. Like that. And take it down, 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 down. There we go. And now I'm going to add that same darker colour just a little bit. And I'm going to darken here where I did before because that's now a little bit drier. And take that down her trunk. Whoops, got a bit on her tusk, but that doesn't matter. I can lift that out with this. So what I do is I go back into my wet, back into my water with my brush. And just while the paint's still a little bit wet, just dab it out with the damp cloth, and that solves that problem. So you can have mistakes, little mistakes in watercolour, and they're fixable. So don't panic. If you get a blob of paint where you don't want it, you can still go back and remove it. So now I'm just going to add stronger shadows around her ear. Start to build up now. And that shadow comes right down onto her shoulder. And just start to darken up these shadows like that. Take that down her leg a little bit. And her back's in light. So I'm just going to put a little bit of grey there and just damp my brush and then move it around a bit. Just to add a bit of texture, a bit of something to her body, because there's sort of a big space like that. And then her bottom, I'll take that shadowy bit down beside the calf, just fill in around the baby's head like that. Just like that. Apologise for my dinging in the background. It's my computery thing. I don't know how to turn off my notifications. So I'm getting notifications, I'm afraid. So I'm going around the calf and just filling around her face. And that'll make her pop a little bit. And that leg on Mum is very dark shadow. So I'll now go back in while it's still wet and just add a little bit more over the top. And take that down her leg. Being careful to leave the calf's leg a little bit. Shape around her because she's lighter than her mum. Okay, so take that up there. Okay, so now I'm going to pop some shadows in underneath because that bottom's dry. And I mixed up a grey purple earlier. Whoops, that's probably, doesn't matter. I've got to mix it up a bit stronger, a bit of a bluier shadow colour. And that shadow goes under there, and in front the baby, like that. And the shadow sort of holds them to the ground. It really does help to ground them. gives them connection to their background. And it looks like it's been a very hot day in elephant world where this photo was taken because they've been playing in a lake or something, or not a lake, a pond or a dam or a thing of water, a river, because both the elephant and the calf are wet in the photograph or in a few photographs. It's like they've been for a dip, which is a bit cool. So now I'm going to pop a little bit more indanthrone, which is a blue, very beautiful blue, just directly where the darkest shadows are. While it's still wet, and it'll still flow around a little bit. Like that. And then I can move the edge of that because I don't want hard edges still. So damp my brush again and just drag those edges out a little bit. And that'll just fade them out like that. So just drag those edges so they're not hard lines, because it doesn't look like hard lines in the picture at all. It's all soft and blurred, and I can come back and fine tune those in a minute. So I'll let those dry now and go back to my elephants and go back to my calf, I think. And I'm going to start adding a little bit of warmth, and I'm going to do that with a little bit of transparent sienna. Just a little bit of transparent sienna, and start taking that into Mum's skin. It's a beautiful reddy colour, a reddy brown. And that is because it's transparent, you can still see where I've done the grey under it. It shows through. It's probably a little bit reddy, but that's all right. It'll dry back a fraction. I can run over it with a damp brush and soften it a little bit as I go. Take that down her trunk. I was tossing around whether to use a yellow ochre, and then I decided against yellow ochre because I thought that has sort of a greeny tint to it, just slightly. And I like the warmth more of this. And I don't put it everywhere. I just put it here and there around her body and her ears at the moment, just to get some warmth happening. I need a drink of water. Where's my water? Just excuse me for a second while I have a quick sip of water, because I'm thirsty. Pop that away and back to the elephant. Sorry about that. When you got a drink, you got a drink. Okay. So now I take that same colour, which is my transparent sienna, down the front of the leg, because the sun's sort of shining on that leg in the photo. And behind here is in shade. So I'll add the warm bit up the top, because that is where the sun is hitting, like that. And then I take that down onto her hip. And there's a little bit of warmth here down the elephant's leg. So I pop a little bit down that leg. And I take it up. Actually, I'll take that up around the baby as well. And you can still see the slight colour coming through of the grey underneath, which is what I wanted. I just wanted to warm it up a little bit, but still look like it's in shadow. And I take that up, and that's warmed that up right all the way up. And I'm going to actually darken up the shadows on the other side. Go back into my shadow colour and add another layer on those legs on the opposite side, because they are in very dark shadow. So I'll dark them right up. Like that. And then I'll do this back leg as well. So the whole time I'm referring back to the pictures and I'm exaggerating the lights and darks just slightly, but just, you know, using my artistic license and just exaggerating the shadows just a little bit for art's sake, so it looks a bit more, there's a bit more contrast. And now I'm going to start with the fun stuff. Add a little bit of texture around the bottom of Mum's trunk. Right, actually, and I'm going to leave Mum there, let her dry a little bit. And I'm going to go to work on the bub, doing exactly the same thing. Anywhere that's in shadow, I'm now going to darken up. And under here, not the whole leg, but under that leg there is in shadow. So I just pop a little bit of paint on there. And then I get a damp brush and I wash it down that front leg like that. And then that bottom part of her foot is very dark, but I'll just leave it like that for the second. And then that leg. So I pop that one there like that, and then I get my brush damp again and move it around with a damp brush like that. So I'm just smoothing that out. And then her belly's very dark. And again, I'm going to go over these with a warmer colour. I'll take her shadow up there. That's where her shadow is. Like that. And then I take that down her leg. And it's the same, almost the same. It's the shadow colour on the ground. The shadow on the colour on the ground's got Idant thrown in it, and this one's burnt umber and cobalt. So they're different blues. I've used different blues in the shadow. And then I get her little back leg. They are such cute little beasties. So I just darken up that shadow. And then again, damp brush and drag the edges out. Just soften it up, dragging the edges out like that. Okay, now to work on her little trunk. She makes me laugh. She's such a cute little elephant. And I'll just go underneath because that's in shadow under there. Take that under there because the mum's almost dry. Close enough to dry that it doesn't matter. I can touch the edges of where I've painted Mum. And pop her little colour on her face, but I'm just going to take that. I'm just again dragging a damp brush around just to move that paint around, and now I'll go back into her shadow areas, and she's very dark around her ears here. There's quite a lot of shadow, just like on Mum's neck. And where else is there shadow? There's shadow stronger under here, so I darken that up. Actually, the shadow goes under her face quite a lot. So I'll take that shadow right through that area. And then down her bottom, like that. And up and do a little tail, little upshot tail. It's a bit cute. And around her eye. Okay, so now I can start adding a little bit of warmth into the bub as well. So I'm going to go a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to go back in to my transparent sienna again, which is the same reddy brown colour I used in Mum. And just with my little brush, because baby's little, so I'll add a little bit of detail. And so I've blipped a little bit of reddy brown in. And now I move it around with a damp brush just to soften it. Like that. So once I've popped it on, then I can move it around a little bit And then the tip of her trunk, like that. Adding little bits around. And then on the top of her back. Like that. And I can move the edges around with a damp brush because, again, I don't want any harsh edges. So move it around with a damp brush. So I've really used blue, brown, and reddy brown. So I've used 3 colours in this picture so far. So I've used cobalt blue, idanthorine blue, or idanthorine, not sure how to pronounce it, burnt umber, and transparent sienna. So 2 blues, 2 browns. And now I'm just adding the warmth down the front. Again, going over the shadows because I can still see the shadow grey colour through. Because this is a very transparent colour, this transparent sienna. So I can see the shadow that I've created already. And I'll pop a bit on that back leg again. Then I'll wash my brush and drag it round like that. And they're coming to life. They're starting to come together. So now I'm going to deepen up these shadows a little bit more underneath. So back into the idanthorine. And I'm going to make it a bit purplier for the shadow. And just strengthen up that shadow a little. Just like that. Strengthen up the shadows. And take that from both around both elephants. And I should probably pop a sky in, shouldn't I? Let's pop a sky in. So in the background of this photo, it's actually a dusty sky. So what I'm going to do is clean my brush and then wet the whole paper around both elephants. Not touching them, I can touch the tail of that one, that's fine. But taking that around both elephants in the background. Whoops, got a bit of a drip on my brush that I don't want to drop on the elephant really. So I run that right around the whole background. And then take it down to the bottom. And I start to fill in underneath. Anywhere that the light's going to be seen. Right, now I'm going to go in with my cobalt blue for the sky, and I'm just going to start dropping it in. And it'll run around and do its own thing because that's what watercolour does best. I don't want it to be uniform all over, so I'll just wiggle it around. Darker at the top, getting lighter towards the ground because the sky's darker up high, or a deeper colour. And then I take that around the little bub and down to the ground. And then I can do the same and just try and keep the watercolour moving and take it down to the ground on this side. Like that. Get a bit more cobalt for under there. Whoops, that's a bit strong. Doesn't matter, I can damp my brush and spread it out a bit more. Soften it. Not the end of the world. That looks a bit better. That actually, I'm going to damp that out a fraction more. Grab a bit of cloth and just soften that up like that because it was a little bit strong, but that's fine because fixed. I can move it around again. Like I said, with the damp brush, you can move it around and alter it a little bit, like that. And take that right to the ground. And then fill in these gaps around the calf. And then I can probably blot that out a little bit with my cloth because it's a little bit strong, like that. There we go. Righto, so that's the sky in pretty much. And now actually I'll darken up the top of the sky just a little. I will darken up the top of the sky just a little bit. Just right at the top. Like that. And take that just down a little bit and just leaving gaps like that. Get a bit closer to the elephant. There we go. Right. And then I'll move it, soften the edges just a little bit, just to blend it back down into the sky I did initially, which is dry already, even though it's only like 5 in the morning here. It's drying pretty quickly because we're going to have a warm day. Now for the fun stuff. Now I start the detail. So, again, keeping the same colour palette. Burnt umber, cobalt blue, just a slightly thicker mix to make the grey. And I start to add just around her wrinkly bits. Whoops, got to make that a bit damper. Just start to add the detail around her face. And they've got such beautifully textured skin, elephants. They've got the most amazing skin. So I just take that down. You don't need to see every mark, just to give the idea of the skin texture. And every so often underneath, because it's darker, I can add some cross hatching. Just fine cross hatching with the paintbrush. Like that. And then take that up her face because it's a bit dark, so I've just got to soften that grey a little bit. Wet the brush. It will dry a little bit paler, which is good. And then she's got wrinkles around her eyes, so I'll define those a bit more now. I can start to define those. And they've got incredibly gold eyes. They've got the most magnificent eyes, elephants. If you ever get the chance to have a look, go to the zoo and have a look at elephants, and you're lucky enough to get close enough, have a look at the colour of their eyes. They are magnificent. And they're so intelligent. So now I'm going to add the darkest shadows into her ears. And I'm leaving her eyes till last. And now I'm just going to add the texture on the fronts of her legs because, again, she's got lots of wrinkles around her legs. Lots and lots of wrinkles. So around the front and the back. And I'm just doing line work as if I was drawing with a pencil. Like that. And I'll just soften that particular one out a little bit. And blot it out with me thin brush and me cloth. And I'll just take these lines because she's got baggy skin around there. And I'll pop a little bit of texture on her belly, again with me grey, because you can see the lines on her belly. Very fine. I'll just do cross hatching again, like that, just to suggest the skin texture on her body. Because you can see it, like their skin is that texture. You can see it even from a distance in the photographs. So I just pop a bit around like that. And then darken that. Take that just around the bottom edge of her belly, whoops, like that. And just darken that a little bit. And again, using the same colour, a bit of texture on her bottom and her back leg. Not everywhere, just in places. Like that. Following the shape of her body. And I can soften that a little bit. I'll just blot it with my... Actually, I'll go over the top with a damp brush to soften that because it's a little bit hard looking. So I'll just literally soften it with a damp brush. And that you can see that just softens it that teeniest little bit. So it doesn't look quite such a strong line effect. Now I'll go back onto this leg. Still burnt umber ultramarine and add texture on there. And I've got to do her little toenails in because I didn't do her toenails. And you can see the lines on the back of that leg. So just take that round like that. And you can't really see on the other leg, but I'm going to, again, make a bit of a... I'll get my burnt umber and just warm up those shadows on that back leg, that leg's on the other side. Just a little bit of burnt umber over the top of that grey. That's a bit better. Softens it. Doesn't look quite so cool. Just wanted to warm up those shadows a little bit on that other side. There we go. That's a bit better. And same for the baby. I'm going to pop a bit of that burnt umber over the top of her shadowy areas. She's got a bit more shadow down there, so I'll take that down there. Soften the edges, stamp me brush. And same for that back leg. Right. And now I'm going to add the details in the baby. So I'm going back to my ultramarine burnt umber. I'm just going to start to add the detail under her trunk. So I'll define that line a little bit more under there. And pop these details in. Like that. And then a little bit of detail around her eye. Oops. A bit of burnt umber. Again, I've got to mix a bit more up. Burnt umber, cobalt blue. Make it a bit stronger. My brush is getting a bit hairy, so I've got to straighten out my bristles. There we go. Whoops. But it doesn't matter. I can blot that out a little bit. I quite like that it flowed. Just didn't quite want that much. And then down the front of her ear. And the shadow under there. Then I'll move it around a little bit. And I start to add texture. So I'll add a little bit over the top of this shadowed leg. Just a little. Take that down that leg, adding a little bit, same as in Mum, same little bit of texture, just enough to suggest that it's there. Then you can see it sort of runs that way on her little saggy tum-tum. So I pop her little wrinkly bits on her saggy tum-tum. She's just too cute, this little bubba. And then follows the direction of that leg. And yeah, you've always got to remember to follow the direction of the skin and the way the legs move. It just gives them movement, makes everything look just that little bit more realistic. And she's got little wrinkly bits here. Again, following the direction of her skin. And their eyes are quite gold. I'm going to go in and do their eyes in a minute. Just got to add a bit of texture on this one. A little bit of texture, and I've got to darken up that shadow just there. So I'll just quickly add a little bit more definition in this shadow here, like that. And that can flow down a little bit. Same for this one, like that. Just move it down a little. And then same for this one for Mum. You don't want it all to be one universal matte colour, flat colour. You want a little bit of variation even in their shadows, because it's, you know, when you look into shadows, they're all different kinds of dark. They're not just ever one dark. There's lots of different darks within. So now I can pop toes in. I'm going to go into the toes just with a little bit of Payne's grey. Just a little bit of Payne's grey. And just, I can see 3 toes on this foot. So there's 3. And just go underneath like that. Can't really see the ones on the back, but I'll just put a shadowy bit in and just suggest that they're there, like that. And same for that foot, like that. And then just put a bit underneath. And now on the little bubble lubber, I'll pop her little toes in. I can always see a couple. Darken up the underneath of her foot. Pop a little bit in, just a teeniest little bit in. Like that. A little bit onto that back foot. And now I'm going to do the eye. So the tusk is the white of the paper. So for the eye, I'm going to go quinacridone gold, because they really do have the most magnificent gold eyes. I'm just going to clean my palette, because I've actually got, I used it to mix with a little bit, and I got a little bit of other colour in there, so I've had to clean that off a little bit. So I'll pop that gold in, this quinacridone gold, into that eye, because they do have the most magnificent gold eyes. Same for the little bub, except I'll blot that out because I missed a bit. Starting to look pretty cool, I think. I'm quite happy with how they're going so far. Go back into my Payne's grey and just pick out a few little details. Just strengthen up underneath Bub's trunk, like that. And just softly add little lines, just very softly. I don't want to do too much, make it look too textured. And I've got to actually strengthen that shadow up under here. It's a bit darker and I'll miss that shadow here. So I'll go back into my other shadow colour, which is the burnt umber ultramarine, and just darken up here, just that little bit, because there is a bit deeper shadow under there. It has dried back just that little bit, so I can still move it around a little bit with a damp brush like that. And then for their eyes, right when that's dry, actually, I've got to be patient. I've got to be patient. I've got to wait for that to dry, so I'll go back and work on their toes, just a fraction. With the Payne's grey. Suggest the toes in that foot. You can just see in the shadow. And I've got to put, actually I haven't put any warmth in that baby's ear. So I'll just grab a little bit more of my transparent sienna, just a very, very diluted transparent sienna like that, because the light is hitting her little ear. And just warm that little ear up. There we go. And now I'm going to pop her little pupils in, or both of their little pupils in the middle of the gold. Probably do it on the baby because the baby's eye is a little bit drier. And that's that. And the teeniest little bit in mum's eye, just for her pupil. And that's her eye done. So, and her tail's behind her. You can't really see it, but I might actually just pop that in anyway. So I'll go back to my grey colour. And I can add her tail just like that. Whoops. And just the tussocky bits on the bottom of it, like that. Add a shadow underneath it. Whoops, that's too dark. That's okay. I can dob that out with my cloth. Everything's fixable if you get it quick enough. Just red up the top. Strengthen that, and then shadow underneath. Like that. There we go. And I reckon we are just about done, guys. So this was, well, what is it? It's about 50 minutes. It took me to do this watercolour sketch, but I'm quite happy with how they turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Actually, I'm going to quickly... Now, having said that, I just saw I need to darken up here. So I'm just going to darken up here. Not quite ready to go yet. My brush has turned into a hedgehog, so I better damp that down a bit. Just take that shadow, strengthen that one up a little bit. That's a bit better. Oh, I think that's a bit better than that one. Right. Okay, now I'm done. And I'll pop my autograph on. Get my autograph down. I'll stick that in the bottom right-hand side. Like that, just using the Payne's Grey. Like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll pop my tape off so you can see how she looks without the edges. Without my candy stripe edges. Whoops, doesn't want to come undone. Actually use, and this is a trick, use your sticky tape that you've peeled off already to catch the edge. Oh. And then you tear the tape. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll just get my fingernail under there and pull the edge up like that. There we go. Once you've got one off, you can get the rest off. There we go. Take that back there. Take this edge off. And, oops, doesn't want to come off. Again, lift up the bottom carefully. Like that. Pull up the tape. Get the edge of that one. And we're done. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I shall see you guys for the next video. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you then.